All right, we are live.
Well, hello, everybody. These beards are not going to last very long because we can't talk and we have fibers going up our nose and down our throats. So we hope that you tuned in right now so that you can see these. Also, Dachelle and I are without our greaves because they have to be laced up and we didn't have enough people to help us get dressed this morning. So
Miss Gena was the smart one. She only has a helmet.
yeah, so. And she's got a beard. Look at that hair.
Oh, that's
brilliant. Well, welcome to day 2 of Spring Into an Epic Summer Adventure with Dachelle McVeigh from Literary Adventures for Kids, Gena Mayo from Music in Our Homeschool, and Olivia and me from the Masterpiece Society. So I wanted to throw it over to Gena real quick and let her tell you about the course that she's offering for Middle Earth. And then Gena, you can just throw it to Dachelle.
Okay, I'll do that. Hi, everybody. Gena Mayo from Music in Our Homeschool. And just for this fun time that we've had, I created a new course. It's a mini course called Music Lessons of Hobbits, Elves, and Dwarves. And we talk about the different types of themes that the great composer Howard Shore wrote when he made the movie music for the Lord of the Rings and the Hobbit movies. So you can get that course. I think the link is going to be shared in the chat, and it's only $10 if you get it through tomorrow. And Dachelle, tell us about yours.
I forgot to unmute. You can tell I'm talking though, because, of all the facial hair. Thank you, Gena. So this is our second year to do a summer lit camp, and I'm super excited that we got to combine our fun camps together with Music in Our Homeschool and our arch venture into Middle Earth. That is just so much fun. So I'm very excited about that. But what we're doing is we're actually going to be reading the book, The Hobbit. So kind of jump into that, get your little prequel into Lord of the Rings. And we're going to spend all summer going on rabbit trails about the book. We're going to do some hands-on exploration, some fun things, which might be science experiments. We have some baking in there. I know we're baking and other things too. And we're going to have a lot of fun with that. We're going to do some visualization, and we're going to have weekly live book clubs. And every week we're going to work on creating our own adventure story. So we'll be token wannabes. So I'm very excited about that. So I hope you guys can join us there. And there is a special coupon for all of you guys that are showing up live today. If you type in live at that link, you'll get 30% off. So that drops your book club down $15.
People who are commenting that they love our beards. So
thank you so much. We're going to take them off pretty soon because Dachelle and I do not want a hot flash in the middle of this.
No.
Information. Yeah. Okay. And mine is falling off my ear. So I'm just going to go ahead and take it off. But I did do the 80s tease for y'all. I am trying to bring back the hairband. And plus you get to see my it's really a mithril. It's my mithril. I know it looks like a disco shirt, but I just love it is a disco shirt. So maybe next year we'll do Art Venture into the 70s, and then I can be like a disco ball. Next year is Art Venture into Narnia. So stay tuned for more of that. And hopefully Dachelle and Gena are going to join us again because that one is going to be epic as well. So Olivia, if you want to remove your beard and talk about your Hobbit Girl summer real quick and put a link to that.
I can. So what I've got for Hobbit Girl Summer is basically just over the summer, I'll be sending out emails with different fun activities that you can do in Hobbit style, true Hobbit fashion. So one of the things that I have is a calendar where each week you have something fun and hobbity as a prompt. And each week I'll send that out along with a free downloadable as well as a recipe for you to try that has like hobbity themes and hobbity food. So the idea is simply just to enjoy the simple life, step away from civilization for a little bit, and live life as a hobbit would. So you can sign up for that at my email as well. I'll put a link in the description.
It is Hobbit Girl Summer, but she said boys are welcome too. But if you've got teenage girls or preteens who love Tolkien, just let them sign up. It's all going to be on Instagram, and she's going to send out goodies through her email. So.
Yep.
And then also, we just wanted to remind you, first of all, if you will put the link. Yesterday, we had people who did not have who weren't signed up for the course, but they want to find out their Hobbit names. And today, they're going to want to know their dwarf names. So I put together a little PDF of just the name generators. So you're going to have Hobbit names, dwarf names, elf names, wizard names, and orc names. So you can just click on the link that Olivia's putting there, and it'll take you straight to the download page. And then before we get started, one more link I wanted to throw in there was Anna Willis's from the Homeschool Sisterhood, because the mothers, I believe, are studying The Hobbit this summer. It might be the kids too, but if you're interested in that, this is totally an epic Tolkien summer. So we wanted to just, anybody else that was participating in some way, we wanted to shout out to them. So if you already have your dwarf names, then you can go ahead and start putting them in the chat, and Olivia will read them in a little bit.
I haven't even sent it. You're going so fast.
Oh, I was going to say when I shut up, but so I will talk slower. And remind you that the Art Venture into Middle Earth is on sale now through May 31st for $47. June 1st, it's going up to $127. So if you're interested and you haven't bought it, then you can, have you put a link to that where they can sign up for Art Venture? All right. And then did you get?
I've posted Miss Gena's, Miss Dachelle's, ours, Hobbit Girl Summer, and the name list. So
and Anna's.
I haven't posted Anna's yet. I'm getting there.
Get there.
Sorry.
Listen, I am a grumpy dwarf this morning, and she better just get on the ball.
We have already had a comment with their dwarf names. So we have Peridot Stonehelm. I love that.
I love that. I will open it up to the name generator so we can find ours.
Sounds good. Miss Gena, you've had a compliment on your helmet. It is quite awesome.
And Gena will tell you about that when, hopefully she will tell her. Because if you saw her elven brooch yesterday, she has a template or a downloadable template for that. So hopefully she's got something for this other one. I'm going to put on my glasses to tell you my dwarf name.
I have another one that's come in. So Anne says she is Jade Broadbean, and her mom is Aquamarine Oakenshield.
Oh, I'm Aquamarine too.
Oh, and Anne says she is 13. So this is really fun for her. Yay, thank you for commenting. So we also have a Diamond Goldbeard, mother of Amethyst Oakenshield. We have Citrine Ironfoot. Oh, that's Miss Gena. Miss Gena is Citrine Ironfoot. Very nice. Christina says Carnelian Firestone, Azurite Firestone, and Barilla Earthstump. I love these.
Earthstump. So these are Tolkien names. A lot of the dwarf women would have jewel names, and then I have no idea where he got the dwarves are based off the Vikings, aren't they? We were talking about the Rohirrim. Who are they based off? I thought
I can't remember.
Maybe Dachelle knows that. But anyway, so these are really fun. And we also, inside the Art Venture, have a link to where you can learn the Viking runes and write your name, your dwarven name in runes. So my name is Aquamarine Firestone. And your name?
My name, let me find it. My name is Amethyst Ironfoot. So that's fun.
And then Dachelle, you can find yours, or you can tell yours when it's your turn. So, all right. So you can talk about, do you want to start with the recipes, or do you want to start with the dwarf painting?
Oh, let's do the recipes. I want to do the recipes. So the dwarf foods were a lot of fun to put together because they're a bunch of manly dudes and they like their meats and cheeses and breads. And so when I was thinking about like the Hobbit and the Hobbit movie, especially when all of the dwarves are around the table, they're eating all of Bilbo's foods, raiding his cupboards, and just like all sitting around making a huge mess. I was trying to think of some types of foods that would be fun that they would have been using. So one of our main foods, wrong side, is a charcuterie board, and we have like a huge selection of different foods and ideas for that. So there's lots of different like meats, chickens, and cheeses, and then like vegetables as well, and crackers. So that's always fun. We also have Bjorn's honey cakes, although I think it was Dachelle who said she has the twice baked honey cakes as well. So we have one as well. And then one is apple butter. So I can't remember which dwarf, but he was like stuck in a barrel that was full of apples when they were going down the stream, and he hated the smell of apples. So I had to include something apple themed. So we have a lot more fun foods that are dwarf themed and would be fun to make a huge mess. But be careful with the plates. So you can sing
Chip the
glasses, crack the plates.
So we like to sing the old 1977 Hobbit. Have y'all watched that one, Gena and Dachelle?
Oh my gosh.
You're missing half your life.
It was so much fun. We recently
It's
watched
awful.
it. Yeah, it's hilarious. And so we were singing all of the old songs. And I remember when the movies came out, we were like, they're actually singing a song, and it's similar to
the
it's in the book, so obviously, but still, it was fun.
All right, so we are going to show the dwarf painting. Just a reminder that next week for Art Venture into Middle Earth is, okay, I was going to put it back on. How about this? I'll let it hang off pretend like I don't have a mustache. So Art Venture starts officially June 1st or May
29th.
It's in the calendar. But next week is our prep week, and that's when we will be releasing each of the art lessons. So Monday will be the Hobbit portrait. Tuesday will be dwarfs. The dwarf. Wednesday will be the elf. Thursday will be Mordor. Is it Mordor Thursday? And then Friday is the Hobbit hole that we showed yesterday. But you are welcome to change them up whenever you want to. And go ahead and show them what they're going to be painting for Dwarf Day.
Okay, I'm going to make our screen big really quick so that you can see it up close and personal. So this is the dwarf painting. Now, I kind of went a little bit crazy with the gems and the jewels, and I made them like really shiny and lustrous, full of all the light and color. So it was a little bit complicated, but I have simplified it for the video. So it's not going to be as crazy and involved as this, but it will still be full of the jewels and the jewel tones.
And if your kids are older and they want to carry it out and just have a lot more fun with it, they're welcome to do that.
Absolutely.
So she's going to make it a lot easier.
Yes, it's very adaptable if you have your younger kids who don't want to do all of the jewels and the jewel tones. But if your older kids do, then it is super fun. Like doing light and shadow and gemstones are one of my favorite things to paint.
I thought you were going to bonk me in the head.
No, me?
No. All right. Well, I think that we've already covered what we were going to cover for this. Was there anything else we were going to talk about?
Not that I can think of. We've had a lot of people comment with their names.
All right. Well, we've got about 5 minutes before we switch it over to Gena. So if you want to read some of the comments so we can shout out to everybody.
Oh, Chelsea. Yes. She asked, her 9-year-old wants to know if that is the Arkenstone at the top. Yes, ma'am. That is the Arkenstone. I made it really big and shinier than all of the other jewels. So that was important, of course. Good catch. I forgot to mention that. Okay, so I will read the names. We have so many, so bear with me here.
Why don't you make it big so that Gena and them can have a little bit off the screen?
Oh, okay. Sorry. Okay, so we have Carnelian Blacklock, Barilla Broadbeam, Azagal Goldbeard, Sapphire Earth Stump, and Barilla Oakenshield.
I love that Earth Stump.
I know, it's so fun. So then Jessica says, Citrine Hammerhand, Fallen Stonehelm, Tourmaline Firestone, Jade Broadbeam, Lonnie, I think that's Lonnie, I can't remember, Goldbeard, Dane Blacklock, and Frar Blackstone. So then also, just so y'all know, Gena has put a link to find the elf brooch, or there's a download for the elf brooch that you can do. So she's put a link there if y'all scroll up a little bit. Let's see. Mary comments Azurite Longbeard, Kim Firestone, Narvi Stonefoot, and Hanar Stonefoot. Sandy comments Carnelian Hammerhand,
Oh, that one's
grandmother of Diamond Stonefoot, and Lapis Lazuli Broadbeam.
cool. Wow.
I love that. So
From Oregon.
From Oregon.
The mountains of Oregon, or under the mountains.
Under the mountains. So then Jackie also comments turquoise Iron Fist. So those are all of the comments that we have.
I should have put on my big old fake jewels.
You
ring.
should have. That would have been
forgot.
perfect. Well, that is one of the recommended costume ideas. I'm taking this off because it's hot. That is one of our recommended costume ideas, is just to like wear a bunch of different jewels and rings or necklaces or earrings to.
And we hear that the dwarf women also have beards, so you might want to maybe even pencil in with a eyeliner pencil or something a beard.
Or Miss Gena had a smart way to do it. If you have longer hair, you can pull your hair under and tie it off in a knot, and that is a quick and easy substitute beard for girls.
Could even do possibly a mustache.
There you go.
You could tape up your hair.
That
across
is
your
beautiful,
face.
Mom. Wonderful.
Thank you.
All right, who is next? Who do I need to hand it off to?
Oh, it is Miss Gena's turn, and she is going to talk about the Misty Mountain music.
All right, so Miss Gena.
Hey, everybody. You guys are hilarious. So much fun doing this with you. I wanted to start off today by telling you how I made my helmet. I mean, it's so easy, simple. So what I did was I just took a ball cap. So just a regular old ball cap. And I put duct tape around the front and then just made different symbols and pieces and then drew on it with a Sharpie. But it's backwards when I do this. I have to do it without looking. There we go. I will put a tutorial for it on the website link that I shared, and that way you can see some pictures more up close. But basically what I did was I looked up Gimli's helmet and just copied some of the designs, simplified it, and it's so easy to do. And like they said, I just tied my hair with a hairband right there for a beard. So too fun. We are going to be talking about dwarf music today. And I wanted to review a little bit from yesterday because some of you may not have been here, but I wanted to tell you a little bit about Howard Shore, who was the composer of the movie music for The Lord of the Rings and the Hobbit movies that came out in the 2000s, not the 77 version that Alisha and Olivia were talking about. And he is most famous for the movie music that he did for those, but he also wrote movie music for about 80 different films and TV shows. So he's very prolific. He's still alive. Maybe he's still writing things. I'm not sure. But one of the things he did for the Lord of the Rings music is he used light motifs, spelled Leitmotif. It's a German word. And it first came about from Richard Wagner, who wrote opera music back in the 1800s. And so what you do with the leitmotif is you come up with a theme, a melody line, and you play it when that character or that place or that thing, like the ring, is on the screen. And so when you start to hear the music, it reinforces what you're seeing on the screen with the story. And it even might be something that's not on the screen, but what the characters are thinking about, or maybe what's going to be happening to them. And so the music really starts to affect us without us even realizing why. And it's very powerful. And he was a genius, Howard Shore was, with the way he did it with the Lord of the Rings music. So I wanted to read a quote that is found in the liner jacket back when we actually bought CDs. They came out with CDs for this, and there was some writing in the back by a musicologist named Doug Adams. And he said, Howard Shore's themes are an encyclopedic network of leitmotifs, dozens of themes that represented cultures, characters, objects, and dramatic concepts in Middle Earth. Individual themes change and evolve to signal the evolution of characters throughout the story. For example, Adams writes, the home-loving Bilbo's Shire theme starts out with safe, warm melodies and a cozy melodic contour. But then the theme moves into a new key and exposes Bilbo's emerging thirst for excitement with leaping intervals and a stout, confident tone. So that's one thing you can do with these themes is you keep it basically the same, but you're changing it up enough that it can make it sound more exciting or more sad or more fearful. So you change it up a little depending on what's going on in the story. In contrast, the leader of the Dwarves, Thorin Oakenshield, seeking to regain his kingdom under the mountain of Erebor, has a proud, compact figure in 3 horn calls, but remaining stubbornly affixed to its root. So it goes from the root note of A, it goes up from A to E, then back down to A to D, back down to A to E. So the A is Erebor, their home. So they have lost their home, and that's the story of the Hobbit. They're going back to reclaim it, and they keep going back to that in the music. So it's describing what's happening in the story. I love these kinds of creative ways of writing. And this isn't new. We even have examples of this way back from the Renaissance, where some of the madrigals written in England did the same type of thing. Where I have this in one of my courses where it talks about the music. And this was back when Queen Elizabeth was Queen of England. She loved madrigals, and they would write madrigals and do this kind of thing where the words are being described in the music too. Like if it says the word high, it's a high note. So different again is the Elf Queen Galadriel's theme. It's an elegant Arabic maquim jazz played on a woodwind instrument, the cor anglais, or the English horn. This accompanies female voices singing in Elvish, and then they have the Elvish language there, which I'm not going to try to say, but we will talk more about the elf music tomorrow. So let's spend a little bit of time talking about the dwarf music and listening to it. So if right at the beginning of the movie of The Hobbit, you hear the dwarf theme, and we call it Misty Mountains theme because they're singing about the Misty Mountains. And it's one of the most recognizable and memorable themes in the Hobbit movie soundtrack. The dwarves sing it, but it's also played in instruments throughout the film. It's characterized by its use of deep brass instruments such as the tuba and the trombone, which makes you think of the dwarves both as being shorter, closer down to earth, but they also live under the earth. So you've got these big, low instruments playing it, another way of having the music describe the characters. Also, it's powerful and weighty and heroic, and it represents the proud and fearless race of the dwarves. The theme is often used to represent the dwarves as a whole, as well as their homeland of Erebor and their quest to reclaim it from the dragon Smaug. So here is the music being played by the low brass instruments. I have to skip ahead a little bit here. I'll tell you when it starts. When I turned it up, were you able to hear it better? We tested the music out yesterday, but we didn't today. So I just want to make sure that it's working well and it's not cutting in and out. If someone could let me know in the chat. And if it's okay, I will keep going. If not, we will work on fixing it. Yes. Okay, good. All right. So that was the theme. Bum, 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 ba-da-dun, dun, dun, being played by the low brass instruments. But now we're going to listen to it being sung by the dwarfs, which is really fun because they have really low, deep voices. So here we go.
Far over the misty mountains cold, to dungeons deep and caverns old, we must away ere break of day, to find our long forgotten gold. The pines were roaring on the height, the winds were moaning in the night. The fire was red, it flamed and spread, the trees like torches blazed with light.
Isn't that awesome? I love that. One thing I wanted to let you guys know is I have another course. It's morning time teens. It's morning time plans, because this whole last year me and my teenagers spent in Narnia and Middle Earth. We read through all of the Narnia books and started The Hobbit last semester. We finished The Hobbit and have gotten almost all the way through all of the Lord of the Rings books. We will be done this Thursday and having our discussion for it on Friday. And it's been really fun to just immerse ourselves in these stories, because when I've read them in the past, I spread them out over years. But just to do the entire thing in a matter of months has been really great. So if you get a chance, definitely start The Hobbit this summer. And then maybe you can read the Lord of the Rings too. It's heavier reading, so maybe it's better for teenagers, maybe high schoolers, but it's been great. So now we are going to do something that I just learned about yesterday from Olivia, and that there is a recording of someone singing that same song in the Dwarvish language. I think it's called Kadzul, that Tolkien made up. So he made up several languages, and one of them was this dwarf language. I mean, he actually created an entire language. And here is a man singing it. Yeah, that is so cool, isn't it? Sounds like Vikings. You can get the Spotify playlist that I made for this. If you go to musicinourhomeschool.com/epic summer music, it will take you to this playlist so you can hear this music more. All right, a couple more things I have for dwarf themes. Let's see, I think we're on the next. Here we go. So this one is going to be what's called Thorin's theme, or the House of Durin. And so I have to skip ahead a little bit for this one. So let me see if I can find it. I'll tell you when it starts. This is it. So it was being played really low. It might have been hard to hear, but now it's being played da 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 da, so you can hear it higher. Okay, one more I have, and this one is the Erebor theme that I talked about, where it goes from the low note up higher, then back to the low note up higher, low note. So this one is called My Armor is Iron. Again, I'll point when it actually starts. Yes, someone said that sounds so intense, very intense. The music can really add to the feelings that we're feeling when we're watching a movie. Want to mention one more thing before we head off today and switch over to Dachelle to do our poetry tea time. And that's that a few years ago, the Chicago Symphony was playing the music. But what they did was they had the big screen up above the stage, and they had a huge orchestra and a huge choir and special soloist and some really interesting other instruments. Like they actually had an anvil like you use for making blacksmiths use to make swords or anything out of metal. And they played these instruments while the movie was playing. So the only thing that was coming from the movie was the voices. All the music was live on the stage, and we got to see all 3 movies in 3 different years, and it was such a cool experience. If they're ever doing something like that in your area, I highly recommend it. It was very, very neat to see that. Okay, so that is our lesson on dwarf themes today, and tomorrow we'll be talking about elf themes, which are so different from the dwarves, so that'll be super fun too. So I will head it back over to either Dachelle or Olivia and Alisha. Let's see who's going to come. Yeah, you ladies.
Okay, sorry about that.
Well, we are now unmuted. And I was going to say, I'm so proud of Olivia for keeping her beard on, but Dachelle has been wearing hers this whole time. Before we throw it over to Dachelle, Gena, if you would put your link to the Year of Tolkien and Lewis, I don't know if that's what it's called, Morning Time Teens, in case anybody is interested in that. And I was going to say, when you started playing the Misty Mountain theme, Olivia and I wanted to stand up like the hobbits do in the movie. We weren't going to salute it, but we were singing along with it because we love that particular version of it. So, all right, I'm going to hush up and I'm going to throw it over to Dachelle, and we're going to talk about some dwarven poetry.
Thank you. Okay, so I have my battle axe here, sword ready, because I am Opal Iron Fist today. But I've only kept this beard on because I haven't been talking, and I have sneezed and inhaled some yarn and swallowed some yarn. So we're going to take it off so I can talk about poetry today. Whew. And also because my daughter did these awesome dwarf braids for me here. So I got some dwarf braids going on. And I did get my greaves on. Not well, but they're on. Okay, so is this not the most fun ever? And I really love coming after Gena because we just got to listen to that awesome song that we're going to talk about in just a minute. So fun. Now, I know one of the things that we've had so much fun with this week is dressing up. So I really enjoy seeing the different ways people do that. Obviously, I am a working mom who is very busy. And so I do the easy way out. So I just buy my dwarf costume. But we do a lot of dressing up in here for different things. So we have this. So I am ready for the Renaissance Fair next year with my dwarf outfit because they do have Hobbit days at their Renaissance Fair. Okay, did you know there isn't a single solitary female character in The Hobbit? Not one. In fact, there's only one woman even mentioned in The Hobbit, and that's Bilbo's mother, Belladonna Took. Now, you may say, well, Philly and Killy, they were sons of Thorin's sister. This is true, but she's actually not mentioned in the story. And you're going to have to go over to the Lord of the Rings and look up one of the many family trees to find her, and her name was Dis. So she's literally the only lady dwarf that's mentioned in Tolkien's writings. So Opal Iron Fist is making a change for that. Okay, so today we're going to talk about that awesome song that Gena just played for us a few minutes ago, Far Over the Misty Mountains Cold. And I know that you guys all know that song because it's just iconic with The Hobbit. And you get that whole feeling when you're listening to it at the doors, especially in very deep voices singing. So Tolkien put in a lot of poetry, a lot of music in his books because he liked writing it. So you've got everything from the dwarves, the elves, to the hobbits, all writing some type of poetry, some type of lyrical thing. And a lot of the times it was songs. And this song was actually written in The Hobbit in 1937. But if you go through the books, you're going to find it more times because he kept using it, changing the words a little bit, changing a little bit of the rhyming there and now in different ones. So you're going to see it in different books, this poem. So when I read it to you, you may think that's not the words. It is the words. They're just different words in different books. But in The Hobbit, we read Over the Misty Mountains Cold. And this is the point of this song is to get Thorin and his fellow dwarves. They're going out on this mission. They're taking Bilbo with them. And they're going to go out to their land that Thorin is the true king of. And he wants to take over the mountain again. He wants to capture it back from Smaug. So this is his kind of epic tale here about it. And so let's listen to it real quick as I read it, because I want you to try to pick up. Remember we talked about yesterday some of the poetic devices? See if you can pick up on some of the poetic devices here. Far over the misty mountains cold, to dungeons deep and caverns old, we must away ere break of day to seek the pale enchanted gold. The dwarves of yore made mighty spells, while hammers fell like ringing bells, in places deep where dark things sleep, in hollow halls beneath the fells. For ancient king and elvish lord, there many a gleaming golden hoard, they shaped and wrought, and light they caught, to hide in gems on hilt of sword. On silver necklaces they strung, the flowering stars or crowns they hung. The dragon fire and twisted wire, they meshed the light of moon and sun. For over the misty mountains cold, to dungeons deep and caverns old, we must away ere break of day, to claim our long forgotten gold. Goblets they carved there for themselves, and harps of gold where no man delves. There lay they long, and many a song was sung unheard by men or elves. The pines were roaring on the height, the winds were moaning in the night. The fire was red, it flaming spread. The trees like torches blazed with light. The bells were ringing in the dale, and men looked up with faces pale. Then dragon's ire, more fierce than fire, laid down their towers and houses frail. The mountains smoked beneath the moon. The dwarves, they heard the tramp of doom. They fled their hall to dying fell beneath his feet, beneath the moon. Far over the misty mountains grim, to dungeons deep and caverns dim, we must away ere break of day to win our harps and golds from him. So, isn't that the coolest? Yeah, so you guys have read that one so much. It's just one that you hear a lot, but you're going to hear it with different words. Even at the end of The Hobbit, he uses a little bit different words to repeat this. So this is a 10 stanza poem, and it's broken into 4 lines each. We call that a quatrain in the literary world, and a quatrain is really just a simple way of saying 4 lines. Now you can make up all sorts of different rhyming rhythms with that, but in this one, let's see if we can hear. Let's listen to that first line, the first stanza again, and see if we can pick out the rhythm here. Far over the misty mountains cold, to dungeons deep and caverns old, we must away ere break of day to seek the pale enchanted gold. So do you pick up that rhythm there? We've got cold, old, and gold. So it's A, cold, old, and gold all rhyme, but the third line doesn't rhyme. Let's see if he keeps that up. The dwarves of yore made mighty spells, while hammers fell like ringing bells, in places deep where dark things sleep, in hollow halls beneath the fells. So you can see he does keep that up throughout the entire poem, that A, rhythm, which is really a pretty simple rhythmic pattern there. Now, not as simple, I know, when you're writing your own poetry, trying to come up with 3 words that rhyme and not the same word. So, but he used easy ones. So that's one of the tricks of poetry, is you want to use a word at the end that you're going to rhyme with that is something that's pretty common, that you can find other words. We have laughed because in our poetry tea times, I do poetry tea times every month on Zoom, and some kid will invariably put like orange at the end, and he's like, I can't find anything to rhyme with orange. So you want to use the words that are easy to rhyme with at the end, and so he does that with old and cold, or spells and bells, words that we have multiple words that have those rhythms and those sounds together. But let's look at some other things that he uses in this story. Poem. Okay, he uses foreshadowing. So you've probably heard of foreshadowing before. It's basically what it sounds like. It's taking something and kind of giving you an idea of what's to come. So we hear when he says, far over the misty mountains cold, to dungeons deep and caverns old, we must away ere break of day to seek the pale enchanted gold. So that's foreshadowing. The dwarves are going to leave, and they're going to go out, and they're going to try to get back their homeland. If you end it, look at the ending stanza. It says, far over the misty mountains grim, to dungeons deep and caverns dim, we must away ere break of day to win our harps and gold for him. So you get that we're foreshadowing that they want to win back their gold. And I'm not going to tell you how that ends, but if you've seen them, maybe you know. Okay, so foreshadowing. Now, there's other things that he uses, like alliteration, allusion, enjambment. Now, allusion, I just read one that alluded to. Did you catch it? It says, to win our harps and gold from him. So that is an allusion. It's alluding to the dragon, Smaug. Remember that dragon came in, destroyed most of the civilization of the dwarves, all the mountain dwarves. Basically, what was left, they had to leave. There was very few of them left. He took over and took all their gold, all their everything, not just their gold, but their whole home. So Smaug did that, and then he proceeded to sit down on top of it all and not let anybody near it again. So we're alluding to Smaug. So allusion is just something that kind of gives you an idea of what he's talking about without actually saying it. So you'll see that also when he mentions to seek the pale enchanted gold, or the other one that is the long forgotten gold. So when he's talking about the long forgotten gold, he's alluding to when they lost the gold. Because remember, dwarves live hundreds of years. So this has happened a long time ago. And there's very few dwarves even left that remember the gold that they had stockpiled up. And they were very wealthy and they ruled the mountain. And so we're giving those allusions back to that time in history. So he's not only just giving us a poem that sets us off on our epic adventure with Bilbo, but he's giving us the history of what happened. So now in this one poem, we can kind of go back and see, this is why they want to go on this adventure. This is why they are heading out, because this is something that belongs to them and they want to take it back. And when they had to run off and leave everything before, there wasn't enough of them. And so now there's plenty of them. Well, not plenty of them, but there's more of them. And so this small band of them is going to go with Bilbo and initially with Gandalf, and they're going to head out to this adventure where they're going to try to get back the mountain. So we've got all that illusion working in there. Let's talk about one we talked about yesterday, alliteration. I love alliteration. It's literally my favorite one. So everything I do, I have like Tea Time Tuesday and Fun Friday. I love alliteration. So alliteration is just where we take like the first letters of words that are the same and we put them together. So just take that first stanza once again. See if you can find the alliteration. For over the misty mountains cold, to dungeons deep and caverns old. You see the alliteration there? Did anybody find it? Misty mountains. We've got the M sound that's repeating, so that is alliteration. Dungeons deep. We have that D sound that's repeating, so we have that going. And we'll repeat those later on. He reads them later on in the poem that you'll see him again. You'll see that duh sound that's a really strong one. And I think he uses that because of the dwarves. It makes it a stronger, deeper kind of story they're telling. Because this is not some fun little happy song. They do those. And as Alisha and Olivia were alluding to earlier, with the fun one in the beginning, while they're cleaning up after Bilbo. After they wreck Bilbo's house. So there are fun songs as they sing, but this is not one of the fun, happy ones. This is more of telling this story. So he's telling you this epic story by using a song, which we know is poetry. Now here's one you may not have heard before because it's a little bit, it's not common, let's say that. It's called enjambment. And this is one that forces the reader to jump down reading. So you'll notice that poems don't have a full sentence. It doesn't start with the first capital letter, read on, period. That's called prose. Poetry usually breaks up the sentences. Now, sometimes it breaks it up in a really nice spot where there's maybe a comma or there's a nice pause. But other times it breaks it up on purpose in a way that leaves you hanging. So that kind of makes you want to rush on through to the rest of it. For example, in the second stanza, lines 2 and 3 do this. If you listen, it says, while hammers fell like ringing bells. So that's the stop there. Then the next line is in places deep where dark things sleep. So when you're reading that, while hammers fell like ringing bells, there's no comma there, there's no pause. You're just left kind of hanging. While hammers fell like ringing bells. And then it moves on, in places deep where dark things sleep. So it kind of makes you rush on to that next part because it's left you hanging there. That's called enjambment. Another one is in line 2 and 3 of the 10th stanza that I read to you a minute ago. For over the misty mountains grim, to dungeons deep and caverns dim, we must away ere break of day to win our harps and gold for him. So it kind of leaves you hanging there, making you want to grab that and say, what's the rest of the line there? So that is one that we probably don't talk about very much. And if you've probably done your literary studies, that's one that you're not going to hit on very much. But it is a literary device. Now, the second to last one I'm going to talk about is called anaphora. Anaphora, you might not have heard either because it's not one of the more common ones. It's the repetition of a word. Yeah, Shell, isn't that fun the way it does that? It's poetry affects things like that. But anaphora is the repetition of a word or phrase at the beginning of multiple lines. So he does that in one of his stanzas, and I only read it once, so let me read it again so you can see what it is. The pines were roaring on the height, the winds were moaning in the night, The fire was red, it flaming spread. The trees like torches blazed with light. So you notice that every single stanza there, every single line in the stanza starts with thee. Now, as writers, we often use that to make a kind of a point. The reason why is because you're repeating that. It's making you grab that and notice it. The pines were roaring on the height. The winds were moaning in the night. The fire was red, it flamed spread. The trees, like torches, blazed with light. Now, if you throw that through Grammarly or some program like that, it's going to tell you stop doing that. You need to change that. Yes, I get that all the time when I'm writing. Grammarly tells me, no, you need to change up your sentences. They don't need to start with the same word. But a lot of times I do that for the effect as you're reading it, so you get that effect. And that's what Tolkien is doing here. Which, by the way, might I note, I noticed that everybody else is pronouncing it correctly, Tolkien. And only until I wrote this book club a few months ago did I realize I've been pronouncing it all my life wrong. It is not Tolkien, how I pronounce it, because I'm a Southerner, and that's how we talk. It is Tolkien. So just a little tidbit hint there in case you were pronouncing it wrong as well. Okay, so that is anaphora. Now, the last one I want to talk about is repetition. Repetition is a very common thing in poetry. And you'll notice there are different types of repetition. Sometimes we'll repeat a word. If you've ever read Edgar Allan Poe, you know that in The Raven, he repeats the word nevermore, nevermore, nevermore. It's a repetitive device that he uses to kind of make that point of the raven is constantly saying nevermore, nevermore. So the point here is you can have repetition in any different way, but it's making it to where you notice it. So what Tolkien does is he doesn't repeat the same word over and over and over. He repeats the same stanzas or same lines in the stanzas. So let's notice in the first stanza, he says, "For over the misty mountains cold, to dungeons deep and caverns old, we must away ere break of day to seek the pale enchanted gold." But he uses those lines again in the fifth stanza when he says, far over the misty mountains cold, to dungeons deep and caverns old, we must away ere break of day to claim our long forgotten goal. So though he does repeat it, he changes the last line. And I'll notice again at the very, very end, he says, "Far over the misty mountains grim," so he's changing the word there, "to dungeons deep and caverns dim, we must away ere break of day to win our harps of gold from him." So you can see how at the end he changes it a little bit more, but it also gives us a little bit of encouragement, a little bit of hope that at the end we're going to actually win back our gold. Us, me, Opal Iron Fist, and Thorin Oakenshield, everybody. Okay, so that is our poetry tea time. Not really so much tea time because dwarves I don't think drink tea, but I have my poetry water with dwarves, and I'm going to send it back to Alisha and Olivia if they're still there, or Gena.
We're here.
Are we unmuted this time?
Yes, we are. That was amazing.
That was awesome. So Tolkien was a genius, and that's what we were like. When you were reading those lines, we're just like, oh, he was such a genius.
Yeah.
So several times we have been to Oxford, and the first time we went years ago, my husband and I had to visit his grave site, and I have pictures of Jason. He wasn't really like kneeling before Tolkien, but he was kneeling down so I could get a picture of him by the tombstone. So we love him. But yeah, you got to see it a few years ago.
Yes, it was very cool.
So it's a really neat, if you ever get to go to Oxford, you should go to I forget the name of the cemetery where he's buried. Do you remember?
Mm-hmm. Sorry.
But anyway, it's really pretty. I may or may not have snatched some leaves from a plant that was growing on his graveside. I may or may not still have that.
Ooh,
I may not.
okay.
I will neither confirm nor deny. But all right, so let's bring this all back around. And I just wanted to thank everybody who has joined us today, and especially Gena Mayo and Dachelle McVeigh, because y'all are really like elevating this, because we just play and giggle and just act silly, but y'all are actually teaching us things, and this has been amazing. So tomorrow we will meet back here at 11 a.m. Central Time, and that's 12 p.m. Eastern Time. And we are going to be very pompous and pious elves, and we will be looking down our noses at everyone else because you are all mere humans. So, did y'all have anything else y'all wanted to say before we sign off?
Well, they could come be a an elf tomorrow too.
Yeah.
That's true.
Ears.
I'm some pointy ears.
I was just going to say, I love how when we came together on this, it was such a fun collaboration just because we like to play with each other. And it was fun, but it's really coordinating so well. So it's so much fun to see everybody come up with the different costumes and the different ideas of how to teach the Hobbit. And there's just room for everything. And so it's just great to see that kind of camaraderie coming together. So I'm really enjoying it. I'm so enjoying listening to you guys with the art and music, because it really pulls in the literature so much. Just like Gena was saying, the music can make so much of your feelings. And when you see it, when you visualize it, that makes a difference too. So I love putting it all together. So I hope you guys join us for all summer for all of our fun things we're doing this summer camp.
Yay. All right. Well, thank you again, everyone, for joining us. And we will see you tomorrow at 11 a.m. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.